Do you want the lineup?
Hello, my name is Julie Gallaher, and today I'm going to be talking to you about self-determination. And what is self-determination? It can be described as a principle in international law of the determination of one's own fate or course of action without compulsion. In short, it is the ability to practice free will. This right is recognized as a right of all peoples in the United Nations International Bill of Human Rights and of Indigenous Peoples in the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, adopted by the General Assembly in 2007. Cyrenaica. It is located in the eastern region of Libya, a country in the northern part of Africa. And Cyrenaica is adjacent to Tripolitania in the northwest and Hasan in the southwest. And here are some interesting facts about Cyrenaica that you may not know. Cyrenaica, also known as Barca locally, stretches from the town of Sirte in the eastern border of Egypt. It is also the birthplace of Muammar Gaddafi. Benghazi, which is Cyrenaica's capital, is the second largest city in Libya. Cyrenaica holds about 3/4 of Libya's vast oil reserves, and it is also the birthplace of the Libyan Civil War. And now I'd like to talk to you about historical marginalization in Cyrenaica. Although the region has rich oil reserves, the people have continually suffered decades of discrimination and marginalization from the central Libyan government, hence the need for self-determination. Now I'd like to talk to you about Cyrenaica and autonomy. For about 10 years after Cyrenaica became independent state in 1951, Libya was run along federal lines with power devolved to Cyrenaica, Hasan, and Tripolitania. Cyrenaica also enjoyed prestige and power under King Idris. After being toppled by Gaddafi's military coup in 1969, Eastern Libya was sidelined for the next 4 decades. This history of autonomy is partially driving its bid for self-determination within Libya. Now I'd like to talk to you about the reasons for self-determination. Number 1, marginalization and neglect of the Cyrenaican people for over 4 decades. And number 2, there's a lack of sufficient economic progress and development, unlike that of Tripolitania and Hasan. And number 3, Cyrenaicans' dissatisfaction with the central government in Tripoli. And number 4, underrepresentation of the Cyrenaicans in the interim parliamentary body. Now, this slide is picturing 2 men, Muammar Gaddafi and Mustafa Abdel Jalil. And who are these men and what do they have in common? Muammar Gaddafi has been often been described as Libya's demagogue by his critics and has styled himself as the leader of the revolution. He has a history of a 41-year leadership prior to the Civil War, making him the 4th longest-serving non-royal leader since 1990. He was killed in October of 2011 by NLA fighters. Now, Mustafa Abdel Jalil was the leader of the Transitional National Council of Libya, which was the government created by the rebels during the 6-month struggle to topple Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. He is currently being questioned by military prosecutors in the killing of the insurgents' top field commander, General Yonis. So what do they have in common? Well, first, they are both lovers of centralism, which is the concentration of political power in a few hands. The way in which many perceive them can be seen in these next 3 slides. This pig slide. This is meant to show how centralism is fed to the people. And this Dumb and Dumber slide, this goes to show how excited they are about centralism and the people's true perception of their excitement. And this statue cartoon, this is a representation using political propaganda to show the false idolism of Mustafa Jalil. So the shortcomings of the National Transitional Council, or otherwise known as the NTC of Libya, first, there's a lack of transparency. Number 2, there's a failure to protect the rights of the minorities. And number 3, there's slow restoration of public services in areas worst hit during the revolution. And number 4, there's an unaccountable detention system. And number 5, there's an inability to bring militias under total control and decommission their arms. And number 6, and this is an important one, the torture of prisoners. And according to Amnesty International, prisoners being held by Libyan militiamen beat them for hours and gave them electric shocks. Another valid event to remember is the assassination of Abdel Fattah Yunus. And who is this man? He was a senior military officer in Libya, but resigned in 2011 to defect to the rebel side in what was to become the Libyan Civil War. He was considered by many a key supporter of Muammar Gaddafi. He was said to have been killed by members of an anti-Gaddafi militia in July of 2011. There is a lot of speculation and unclear circumstances surrounding his death. Congress of the People of Cyrenaica. So this was formed in March 6, 2012. The people of Cyrenaica decided to deliver themselves to liberty and formed this Congress of the People of Cyrenaica. The group consisted of military men, citizens, and statesmen of the region. So the process of self-determination, it can be described as, the process of self-determination can be through direct negotiation by representatives of participants, mediation through a trusted third party, and the findings of an agreed upon independent tribunal or ruling of a recognized international court such as the International Court of Justice. And the process ends with the people's consent to a proposed outcome through a referendum, plebiscite, or some other means. They were also able to choose a leader, Ahmed Zubair, and here he is addressing the media after being elected leader of the Cyrenaica region. The conference elected him to lead Cyrenaica's governing council. He is an NTC member and the longest-serving political prisoner under Muammar Gaddafi. However, there are still threats to this process. Abdel Jalil is threatening to use force to foil the East autonomy bid. And here you can see the rebels. And here, these are the protesters gathering as they get ready to take their autonomy bid to the next level. And in conclusion, the citizens of Cyrenaica have suffered discrimination, deprivation, oppression, and been denied free will for over 40 years. In the words of Charles Caleb Colton, liberty will not descend to a people. A people must raise themselves to liberty. It is a blessing that must be earned before it can be enjoyed. And it is important to remember global concerns such as the ones discussed here today, especially when there are crimes against humanity. This is a call to action to support this movement so that the people of Cyrenaica can achieve self-determination. Thank you.